I'm asking you to marry me, Daniel. You've hidden me for 6 months. That's not love, that's convenience. You applied to Boston months ago?
Before I knew you had. I just knew I wanted to go where you were going.
She was his boss. He was just her employee. But when she said, "Marry me," his answer shattered her world. Alexandra Mercer didn't believe in office romances. This story belongs only to Sway Tales, original, real, written just for you. If it makes you feel something, like comment and tell us where you're watching from. Your sweet comments mean everything to us. She had built Mercer Solutions from a 2-person startup operating out of her apartment into a $40 million consulting firm in downtown Chicago. She had sacrificed her 20s for boardrooms and balance sheets. She had chosen spreadsheets over relationships, quarterly reports over anniversaries. At 34, she wore her ambition like armor, and she was proud of it. She definitely didn't believe in falling for the guy who fixed her broken laptop on his first day. Daniel Reyes had been hired as an IT specialist, and he showed up to her corner office on a Tuesday morning carrying a tool bag and wearing a flannel shirt that was completely wrong for the building's dress code. She had been about to tell him exactly that when he looked up from her screen, pushed his glasses up his nose, and said,
"You've got 17 tabs open. That's not a work ethic, ma'am. That's a cry for help." Nobody talked to Alexandra Mercer like that. She hired him full-time by Friday. It started slowly, the way the most dangerous things always do. He began leaving coffee on her desk before she arrived, not just any coffee. The dark roast with 2 sugars and a splash of oat milk, the exact order she gave every morning to the cafe downstairs. She never asked him to. He just noticed. She started leaving the light on in her office longer than necessary when he was on the night shift. They talked, first about work, server issues, software upgrades, IT budget proposals, then about other things, about his son Marco, who was 7 years old and obsessed with dinosaurs and already smarter than most adults Daniel knew. About how Daniel had raised him alone since Marco's mother left when the boy was barely 2, how he'd moved 3 times chasing better pay, better schools, a better shot at giving his kid a real life. About how Alexandra had grown up watching her mother work double shifts to keep the lights on, and had promised herself she'd never depend on anyone for anything. How she'd built every single thing she had from scratch, with her own 2 hands, with nobody handing her a single door. They understood each other in the way that people do when they've both learned that life doesn't come with safety nets. The first time he kissed her, it was in the parking garage after a company dinner. He hadn't planned it. She hadn't expected it. But it happened, and neither of them pulled away. They kept it quiet for 6 months. No public displays, no whispered conversations by the water cooler. Daniel treated her with complete professionalism in every meeting, every hallway, every team call. And Alexandra, who had spent her entire career building walls, let one person pass them, quietly, privately, in a way that felt sacred and terrifying at the same time. She met Marco on a Sunday afternoon in late October, at a pumpkin patch outside the city. The little boy had chocolate on his face and an absolute encyclopedia's worth of facts about the Cretaceous period, and he looked at his father the way kids look at people they know will never abandon them. Something cracked open inside Alexandra's chest that afternoon, something she hadn't even known was closed. She drove home that night and sat in her car in her garage for 15 minutes, just breathing. She was in love with Daniel Reyes, completely, irreversibly, terrifyingly in love with him. She found out she was pregnant on a Wednesday morning in December. She sat on the edge of her bathroom sink for a long time, staring at the test, doing the thing she always did when faced with a problem. Calculating, analyzing, running scenarios. But this wasn't a problem. That was the part that caught her off guard. Her hands were shaking, and it wasn't from fear. She was 34 years old. She had everything she'd ever worked for, and she wanted this. She wanted him. She wanted the family she'd never let herself imagine. She called Daniel and told him she needed to talk. She booked the corner table at Luce, the upscale restaurant 2 blocks from the office where they'd had their first real date. And she wore white because that felt right, though she couldn't have explained why. She had a plan. She always had a plan. She would tell him about the baby. She would tell him she loved him. And then she would ask him to marry her because Alexandra Mercer had never waited for someone else to make the first move in her entire life, and she wasn't about to start now. He arrived looking nervous. He dressed up. Dark jeans, a button down, his hair pushed back. He looked handsome and anxious and completely like himself, and when he sat down across from her and smiled, she felt her whole chest loosen. "You look beautiful," he said. "I'm pregnant," she said.
The smile stayed on his face for exactly 3 seconds before something shifted behind his eyes. She watched it happen, watched him process the words, watched the color drain slightly from his face, watched him set down his water glass with a careful, deliberate stillness that she recognized immediately. It was the same way she handled things she wasn't ready to feel. "Alex, I know," she said quickly. "I know this is a lot. I know we never talked about this. But I've had 4 days to think about it, and Daniel, I want this. I want us." She reached across the table and took his hand. "I want you to marry me." The restaurant hummed quietly around them. Soft lighting, distant laughter, the clink of glasses. Daniel looked down at their joined hands for a long time. Then he looked up. "I can't marry you, Alex." She felt the words before she understood them, like a physical impact, somewhere between her ribs. "What?" "I can't." His voice was low, careful, controlled. "Not like this." "Not like what?" She heard the shake in her own voice and hated it. "Daniel, I just told you I'm carrying your child. I just asked you. I know what you asked me." He pulled his hand back. Not angrily, not coldly, just gently. And that somehow made it worse. "Alex, I have a son. I have Marco. I've raised that boy on my own for 5 years, and I swore to myself I would never bring someone into his life unless I was absolutely certain, unless it was real, unless we had a foundation. We do have a foundation, do we?" He looked at her, really looked at her in the way that only he could, in the way that always made her feel like he was seeing past every wall she had ever built. "You've never told anyone at the office about us. 6 months, Alex. We've been together 6 months and you haven't told a single person. I'm still the IT guy to everyone there. Your employees don't know my name." The words landed with quiet precision. "That's not fair," she said, but her voice was thinner now. "I was protecting us. I was protecting you. From the optics, from the what?" he asked softly. "From being seen with you? From people knowing I exist in your life?" She opened her mouth, closed it. "I'm not a secret you can keep and then marry when it gets complicated." There was no anger in his voice. That was the thing that undid her completely. He wasn't angry. He was just honest, and somehow that hurt more than anything else could have. "Marco has already lost one parent who disappeared. I will not bring a woman into his life, give him a sibling, let him love her unless she is all the way in. Not halfway, not privately, all the way." Alexandra Mercer had not cried in a professional setting in 11 years. She felt the tears coming and she pressed her hands flat against her chest. Both hands, right over her sternum, like she could hold herself together from the outside. And she stared at him across the candlelight and tried to find the words, and for the first time in her adult life, she couldn't. "I'm not saying no to you," he said quietly. "I'm not saying no to this baby. I'm saying not like this, not because it's convenient, not because we're scared. I need you to choose me, Alex. Openly. Not because I got you pregnant, because you actually want me." She drove home alone. She sat in her car again, in the same parking garage, in the same dark, and she let herself feel all of it, the hurt and the fear and the love and the shame of knowing that he was right, that she had kept him in a drawer, that she had loved him in the dark because letting people see him meant letting people see her. And Alexandra Mercer had built her entire identity around never being vulnerable enough for anyone to aim at. She picked up her phone. She opened Instagram, her professional account, the one with 40,000 followers who knew her as the sharp-jawed CEO who posted about quarterly growth and leadership conferences, and she posted a photo, just one, the two of them, from the pumpkin patch in October. Daniel looking at her instead of the camera, Marco on his shoulders, her laughing at something she couldn't even remember now. The caption was 4 words. "This is my person." She put her phone down and drove back to the restaurant. He was still there. He was sitting at the table with his jacket on, his hands wrapped around a coffee mug, and he looked up when she walked in, and she could see on his face that he'd been waiting. Not because he expected her to come back, but because he was hoping. She sat down across from him. "I'm sorry," she said. You deserved better than 6 months in a drawer. He was quiet for a moment. Then, is that a yes? That's a start, she said, but yeah. She reached across the table again, and this time she didn't let go. That's a yes. They got married the following spring, in a backyard ceremony with 40 people, and Marco as the ring bearer and absolutely no dress code enforced. Daniel wore the flannel shirt, she asked him to, because it was the first thing she'd ever noticed about him. The thing that had been completely wrong for the building and completely right for the man. Their daughter was born in July. They named her June because that was the month everything finally stopped being complicated and started being real. Alexandra Mercer still ran her company, still worked long hours, still had 17 browser tabs open at any given moment. But now she came home to noise and laughter and a 7-year-old who had very important dinosaur facts to share over dinner. And she had learned, slowly, imperfectly, gratefully, that the bravest thing she had ever built wasn't the company, it was this.